It's a beautiful day today and we're reading some more Malicious Compliance. We haven't read any of the top posts of all time on this subreddit, so today we're going to read some of the OG top posts of all time. And yeah, I'm so excited for this and I hope you guys are too. Something about this subreddit is so addictive. And yeah, with that being said, let's get started. Enjoy, guys. You demanded that my entire team be at the office for the 4th of July. Fine, enjoy paying for the office party. So this starts on Monday the 13th as I receive an email from a VP, not over my department, or bad VP. I'm told that my team will be required on the 4th. I politely tell them no, that our team has been scheduled this day off and people already have plans. My team is the IT team, and as many of you know, IT team gets shafted every time it can by any company. So over the course of the week, I let my team know what was happening. I let them know I've been reaching out to higher ups to fix it. I also tell them that if their plans are ruined, I'll make it right at work. Over the course of 3 meetings, it started to look like things will not go my way. In response, I sent an email to the CEO of the company. All my higher ups know that I was going to do this and said that I should, as he's very family oriented and that he would not allow anyone to work on a national holiday. Well, he's on vacation in the Bahamas until the 6th, but his assistant informed me that he'd look at this when he gets back. Repeatedly slams head into desk, so I tell everyone that it will be work from home and that we'll be setting my cell phone as priority in the call routing. Meanwhile, I would get most of the calls. To be honest, I was expecting almost 0 calls, especially since I was asked to send out a notification that IT support would cover the 4th of July. I never sent that email out. A day later, I was given another outrage. I was told in an email that my employees will be required to be at the office and no one was allowed to work from home. They would be checking the door badge ins to verify that we were at the office. I asked them why in an email, and they said they wanted to make sure that no one was playing any video games at work. We normally work from home about 2/3 of the week, and video game playing is a normal occurrence at work. So I walked into the person's office. After a very long conversation where she was losing the logic war with me, she told me that it's just IT, you guys don't have lives. Oh my god. No, I'm not kidding you. That's what she told me. I reported this to my VP who said, I'll take care of this. It probably won't be until after the 4th, so get creative. I know this man well. We've worked together for a long time, and get creative is code for corporate effery. I asked the person that was requiring us to be at the office if they cared if we had an office party. They said no, as long as it didn't interfere with the call flow. Even suggested using my new company card to pay for it. Go wild. Pro tip, never tell me to go wild. At this point, it was Tuesday the 21st. I let everyone know what's up, but that I do have something planned. I asked who had things planned for that day. 2 people told me they were planning to shoot off fireworks with their family, but the rest were planning barbecues with their friends. I write up an email to the VP over my department and the bad VP. I tell them all that I let everybody know. We all were expected to work until 8 p.m. Monday. Per the conversation with the bad VP, I'll be having an office party as a sort of sorry to the guys and gals who got shafted by this decision. The bad VP replied again, thank you for your understanding. Also, yes, I would expect an office party if I had to work on the 4th of July as well. So go wild, enjoy your time. Use your new company credit card if you need to cover a few expenses. Also, I should not have to remind you or anybody else, no fireworks or alcohol on company property. So now it's time to tell you about my office. See, a while back the IT team was moved from the main corporate office and into a smaller building by itself. It has a nice gaming break room, a decent sized gym, and a full-on drink bar. Soft drinks, mind you, no alcohol at work. Outback is a big patio that crosses county lines as soon as you cross a small creek. A creek that just so happens to have a footbridge over it, leading to an empty field. I start making phone calls. Monday, June the 25th, I call up everyone into an hour early meeting that morning. I explain to them all that I'll be making it right. I asked everyone to invite their friends and family to the office. No supplies will be needed to be brought by anyone. I tell them all that this will be non-alcoholic, but that I will be planning something for everyone. I tell them to expect all food to be provided and they don't need to bring anything, unless they want to bring some fireworks, i.e. they won't have to spend a dime. The 4th comes and the entire day we did absolutely no work. No tickets, no calls came in. Well, 7 calls did come in, but from the same person, the bad VP. She was calling to make sure that we were manning the phones. All of us were playing video games or watching movies. 6 p.m. rolls around and everyone was told that the food was ready. People were expecting hot dogs, hamburgers, maybe a bratwurst or 2. What they got was a full-on barbecue feast with pizza and other foods. There was smoked brisket, spare ribs, smoked sausage, smoked turkey, both kinds of tater salad, green beans with bacon and onion, pizza from 2 different places, excellent hamburgers and bratwurst hot dogs. On the dessert side was cake, very good cookies, 4 different kinds of pies, and about 2 pounds of fudge. Families and friends started showing up at around 6:15. Some brought alcohol, but I told them they'd have to leave that in their cars as I was not that crazy. Some Some were not too happy about that, but agreed as it was a free dinner for random strangers. So let me set the scene for you. I'm out there with all calls routed to my cell phone and everyone just having a good time. We have a ton of people there just enjoying the fun night, chatting about random stuff, eating the food, and occasionally lighting off some sparklers or throwing firecrackers into the stream. It's not stocked and only 1 foot deep. My VP, not the bad VP mind you, showed up with his family and brought some water balloons for the kids and man-children. Around 8:30ish it's getting dark and people want to shoot off more than just the simple sparklers and firecrackers that we had been using. The VP over the IT department had everyone cross the footbridge, over county line and off company property mind you, and we set up a big wooden board using it as a launching pad. We fired off what we had for about an hour or two and sort of just hung out for a little while. At around this time people were tired and ready to go home. I told people to take home leftovers within reason. We all clocked out at 8 and no one left until about 10:30. The bad VP did call once more. It was 7:50 and she called asking for a status update. My exact words were, "Well, you were the only one to call us today. The rest of us were on the back patio enjoying the 4th of July shindig." She simply acted like my boss and said, "As long as no alcohol or fireworks are on company property, I don't care." We ate roughly half of the food that was catered. The rest was taken home. A small group volunteered to stay behind to clean up, including my VP. We had a funny conversation about how this would make waves with the bosses, but he said he had my back and asked me how much this cost. I gave him a sideways look which made him laugh. Tuesday morning I submitted the expense report to my VP. This email would inevitably make its way over to the bad VP and up the chain to the CEO of the company. It would be a bad idea to give out the exact cost of the party, but I can tell you that because of this 4th of July party, new rules were put into place. Any expenses over $4,000 or more must be approved by the direct supervisor, VP over the department, and the full expense report must be sent to the financial department for review after the fact. Hint, the party was over $6,000. The barbecue was the most expensive part. I didn't order from a low or mid-tier place. The place I ordered from has consistently been on the top 10 in the DFW listing for the last 30 years. I ate at that place so much I made friends with the owner. The best barbecue I ever had. The pies and cakes were custom made by a bakery and the cookies were made by a boutique cookie place. I had 10-12 packs of Coke, Coke Zero, Dr. Pepper Zero, Pepsi, and Pepsi Zero. I bought 5 pepperoni, 5 sausage, 5 cheese, 2 Hawaiian, and 3 cheeseburger pizzas, all from the one place, and nearly the same number from another place. Excluding the cheeseburger ones, I subbed out those for a different specialty pizza from the other place. The burgers were from an excellent burger place that did catering. I know that owner well. He brought his kids for the night of fun after he heard what was going to happen. He was also the one who brought the brat dogs as he recently added those to his menu. This was the most expensive office party in the history of the company. The only things more expensive than this were some business meetings that the CEO rented private rooms in high-end restaurants for. As for the CEO, he was outraged. Not at the cost of the party, mind you. He knew that the party would not have been necessary if people had been allowed to go home. He was outraged that IT was the only group required to work on that day. When I submitted the log showing that we received no real phone calls, no service requests, and that we basically watched movies and play video games during the whole shift, he had heard enough. He apparently sent out a scathing email about work-life balance and the importance of our holidays to every upper management. It was kind of funny as people wanted me to get in trouble for what I did, but the reality is other departments have done similar things in the past, just not on the scale that IT did. The bad VP was administered quite effectively and sent me an apology email. I forwarded it to the team with a strong hint to not reply. Then the VP let the CIO and the CEO know about what the bad VP said. You guys don't have lives. The bad VP did actually confirm she said it in a meeting with her EVP. It did not go over well. I've never heard people yelling in an office meeting like that before. The CEO of the company came to our office and yelled at her. Not sure if she was fired, but she's not at work today. In Active Directory, she does not have the down arrow of death, so not 100% what happened to her. I know she lost whatever clout that she had at the company with her attitude. If anything more happens, I will update, but so far it looks like the fallout from this is that I caused a new rule to be put in place about how much you're allowed to spend at one time. The bad VP may or may not be let go or forced to resign. I know she got yelled at. Strangely, there's no longer any pushback for my bid to get everyone back to working from home. Wow, what an adventure. That was so fun to read. And it sounds like such a good place to work. Yeah, like the top comment says, can I work for you? This sounds magical. I can't believe that person said that the IT team doesn't have a life. That's so bloody out of pocket. And yeah, that was such a good way to start the episode. The next one is called Manager Forces Me to Get a Doctor's Note, despite it being illegal to do so. The doctor writes him the most passive-aggressive note, signing me off for 2 weeks instead of 2 days to teach him a lesson. I posted this and it got removed, and I think it was maybe because I didn't make the malicious compliance clear enough, so I'm going to try again and make it extra clear. When I was in my early 20s, I worked at a supermarket. I should note that I was a pretty reliable employee. I was never late. late. In fact, I often got in early, and I rarely called in sick. At the time that this happened, I hadn't called in sick for 9 months, and even then the manager had sent me home. I'd been up all night swinging between burning hot and freezing cold, so I was obviously feverish, and I've been throwing up at both ends, shall we say. At one point at about 2 a.m, I was on the toilet with my head in the sink, utterly miserable. I must have passed out, because the next thing I knew, I was lifting my head off the sink and it was 7 a.m. I was due to start work at 12 that day, but that obviously wasn't going to happen. So I called up the manager. Let's call the manager Steve. Steve was known for being a real a-hole. He never believed anyone who called in sick except for his best buds, usually other managers, never lowly staff, but often called in sick himself. A lot of the time we knew it was because he was hungover and not actually sick. The conversation went as follows. Me: "Hey Steve, sorry, I can't come in, I'm sick." Steve: "With what?" Me: "I don't know, I think it might be the flu. I've been up all night being sick and I've got a fever." Steve: "Don't be stupid. If you had the flu, you'd be completely knocked out. I need you in. Come in or you're fired." Me: "I can't. I just told you I can't stop vomiting. I passed out." Steve, growling angrily: "Either come in or bring a doctor's note or you're fired." In the UK, you're legally allowed to self-certify for 5 days. This means you can tell your employer that you are sick and you don't need a doctor's note. If you're sick for more than 5 days, you need a note. It's also illegal to demand a doctor's note during the self-certify period. I knew this, but I was terrified. This was during the recession. I couldn't afford to lose my job, so I got myself dressed, almost passed out trying to do so, and then trudged to the doctor some 25 minutes walk away. I end up sitting in the doctor's office for a little bit over an hour, which considering it's a walk-in was pretty good. I get in to see the doctor and she's furious at me for coming in. You're not supposed to come to the doctors when you have a cold or flu, and of course I knew that I should be able to self-certify. She told me as such, saying that I shouldn't be here and I should have stayed home. I then explained what had happened with Steve and how he threatened to fire me over this, and I couldn't afford to lose my job. I was struggling as it was. My doctor turned her anger towards my manager. She asked if I got sick pay from the company, and I said yes. He wants a sick note, does he? The doctor says. Okay, I'll give him a sick note. Now, my manager just wanted a note confirming that I was sick, but instead my doctor wrote something along the lines of this: "This person has come to the surgery because manager name has insisted that she come in. In spite of the fact that this is illegal and all employees are allowed to self-certify, due to being forced to make this unnecessarily and highly dangerous trip when the patient is ill, has a fever over 39 degrees Celsius, and almost passed out in the waiting room, I'm signing them off for 2 full weeks to recover. Had they been allowed to self-certify as is the law, they might only have needed a few days, but due to straining themselves, they're now required 2 full weeks. They are not to be permitted to work until after the 2 weeks. The doctor said she would have signed me off longer, but this was the longest she could do without requiring further evidence. So basically, instead of just being off for a few days, I was now signed off for a full 2 weeks and I'd be paid for it. I went to my place of work, at which point one of the duty managers saw me and asked me what the hell I was doing here. Go home, I was obviously very unwell. I explained what happened. They agreed to help me downstairs to Steve's office and went with me inside. I handed Steve the note. He looked worried and tried to say, "I wasn't being serious about firing you." Well, gee, when you angrily growled it down the phone, it sure sounded like it. The duty manager then declared that they were going to drive me home. It was clear that Steve wanted to argue but had the sense to know that he shouldn't. The duty manager then drove me home, made sure I was okay, and then went back to work where they informed our union rep of what happened. Steve had a disciplinary hearing where he was given a severe reprimand and a warning. Steve tried to argue that he never said I'd be fired and I was lying, and just decided to go to the doctors, but the duty manager said they heard him admit to it when he said to me that he really didn't mean it. I felt better after a few days and I enjoyed my 2 weeks off, fully paid, and enjoyed the nice weather that we had. Meanwhile, Steve was forced to work overtime because we were short-staffed, so thanks to the doctor, instead of being off for a few days, I ended up getting a nice 2-week paid vacation, and Steve was given a final warning, all because he insisted that I get a doctor's note. Edit: to clarify the whole "you're not supposed to come in when you're ill," I should have been more specific. The rule is that you're not supposed to come in when you have a cold or a flu. The reason is there's nothing a doctor can really do except recommend that you take over-the-counter cold and flu meds, so it is recommended that you don't come in if you have a cold or a flu, and instead take medication at home or pick some up at a pharmacy instead, so you don't risk infecting those waiting in the surgery. Even then, it isn't a hardcore rule, more a common courtesy asked of people. If you really want to, you absolutely can. Yeah, wow, what an unbelievable story, but it's so sad that this even had to happen in the first place. Like, oh, I wasn't actually being serious about firing you. Yeah, well, maybe don't scream that at them when they're on the phone. It sucks that you had to deal with this, but yeah, at least it did turn out good. The other people at your work sounded good, but yeah, Steve, not so much. The next one is called "You Don't Want a Woman Working on Your Car." That's fine, but you're going to be waiting a long time. Many years ago, I worked at a car dealership. The attached service garage was small and I was the only licensed mechanic. I would occasionally have issues with male customers. They'd second guess my diagnosis diagnosis and watch me while I worked on their cars, double check my work in the parking lot, etc. I didn't deal with customers directly, and I'd often get my apprentice to pull cars in and out of the shop for me. This morning in particular, we were busy. The lot jockey and apprentice were occupied helping wash cars for delivery and driving to a customer's house. The service advisor left a work order and keys at the parts counter, and I went out the front through service to get the car. It was in for a service campaign, which was an update done with the scan tool. It takes about 10 minutes. The customer was planning on waiting and was sitting in service. When he saw me with his keys in my hand, he immediately stood up, alarmed. I was hustling, so I walked right by him and out the door. I missed the following conversation according to the service advisor, also female. Customer: who is that chick? Is she going to be working on my car? I don't want her working on my car. Advisor: the other tech is out at the moment, so it's going to be quite a wait until someone else can look at your car. Customer: that's fine, I'll wait for a guy. I don't want that chick touching my car. Advisor: politely: understood. The advisor comes to let me know, and I pull the car out and I put the work order and the keys back on the counter, and then half an hour passes. The apprentice is still away and I'm happily working on something else, bringing other cars in and out. The customer's now watching each and every person who comes through the door. The high school co-op student comes in to get something signed. The customer's keys are still sitting on the desk. It's been about an hour now. Customer: hey, why hasn't my car gone in yet? Can't you get this guy to do it? Advisor: no, sorry, he's just a co-op student, so he's not allowed to drive the cars due to liability and insurance concerns. Customer: just get someone else to bring the car in and he can do the work. This was supposed to take 10 minutes. Wow, the audacity. Advisor: sorry sir, he's just a high school student doing his co-op. He's not approved to perform warranty work. Only licensed techs and apprentices can do the recall. The car jockey returns. The advisor hands the car jockey a different set of keys, and he brings yet another car into the shop for me. The customer is becoming incensed. I've been sitting here for over an hour and I've watched 5 cars go in before mine. My appointment was for 8 a.m. This is getting ridiculous. At this point, he says that he literally doesn't care who does the recall, but it has to be a guy. The service advisor starts listing off the names of men who work in the dealership, then saying why they can't perform the recall. Well, there's Herman, but he's just the car jockey. He doesn't know how to work on cars. Then there's Jeet, but he's about 17. I wouldn't want him doing the recall personally. I guess we could ask Mike, but Mike is the parts guy. He doesn't know how to use the scan tool. The detailers are men, but they know nothing about cars. The customer's fuming at this point and demands to talk to the service manager. The manager comes out of his office and guides the customer into the garage. He's pretty old school, lights up a cigarette standing at the end of my bay and points at me. That's my best technician. Those guys take orders from her. You can either wait for her to finish what she's working on and then you can ask if she's willing to work on your car, or you can take your car somewhere else. The guy was pretty shook up at this point and he took his car and he left 2 hours after he'd first arrived. I don't think we ever saw him again, which was not too much of a loss, all things considered. That manager in particular always stuck up for me and took my side. The service advisor has this very deadpan sense of humor. She knew full well that it would easily be an hour before the apprentice would return and that no one else could do the recall. This was not the first sexist that we'd encountered. Thank you for reading. Wow, what an absolute dingbat. Yeah, like the top comment says, he can't fix his car. How the hell can he determine who can? Don't pay an expert and try to second guess them. Yeah, that's so lame, and the sad thing is there would be so many dudes like this. Like, oh, a woman working on my car? I don't think so. Yeah, that's so bad. And yeah, that's right, it's not a huge loss. See you later. The next one is called My Neighbors Wanted to Call a Professional to Mark Their Property Line. My parents agreed. This was a long time ago, but I remember it clearly. We moved into a community with tight space in between our house and our neighbors, and we didn't like them being able to see into our kitchen. We put up a bunch of plants costing thousands, but my parents thought it'd be worth it. A week later, my parents awoke to the plants completely chopped down. Oh no. My father was furious and marched down to our neighbor's house. He told my father the plants were on his property line, therefore he had total right to take them down. Oh, how awful can you be to do this? He warned that if anything were to go on his property again, he would report us to the authorities immediately. Later that day, my father called the company that put the plants in, and with the warranty, we could have them replanted next week for no charge. We made sure there was no way that it was on our neighbor's property. However, a few days later, we caught him chopping them down at 2 a.m. We called the police upon obstruction of property, and after a chat with my neighbor, he decided to call a professional and mark his property line. My father agreed. A few days later, I come home to find orange tape in my neighbor's yard. Apparently, his fence was 11 feet over our property line. We watched as he took down his fence, completely furious. Within the next month, we were enjoying our new space and privacy in our backyard, and my neighbor ended up losing 1/4 of his backyard. My neighbor ended up having to pay almost $10,000 for the destruction of our property, and we got to plant our plants again. Oh my god, if karma was a post, this is 100% it. That's what you get for doing stuff like this. That was so deserved. Like, oh, I'm gonna chop down your plants twice. And also, imagine if your next door neighbor was like this. I'd be moving. That's so awful. And I feel like that's enough for today. Let's read something a lot more wholesome. I'm screaming. Whose little man is this? Oh, so cute. And the little smile as well. Hello, I got you flowers. Did I hear negative self-talk? Please do not do it. You're great. You're dandy. You're far too kind. But yeah, that's right, guys. Don't forget you're great and you're also dandy. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this picture. The warmth and the scrunchy face. The ears. I'm so happy for her. Their ears are circular. They're so rounded off. Oh, that's way too cute. Yeah, I understand why you haven't been able to stop thinking about this. That's beautiful. My cat at 5 a.m. Oh, that's so true. Like, what's that? It's 2 hours before you're probably gonna get up. Better make a whole bunch of noise. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure you like and subscribe. And the comment of the day goes to the stray black cat. It's a nice day for some infuriating nice guys. Watching this on my bus ride to work. Thank you for the laughs to start my day. You're too kind. Thank you for watching the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It sounds like you did, and I'm so glad. Always a good time for terrifying nice guys. Wow, today's episode was super fun. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. There's something so addictive about this subreddit, and I'm sure I'm going to make a new episode on here super soon. And yeah, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!